Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day and a really beautiful weekend, and then Wisconsin's back. But we are looking forward to this State of the Castle, so thank you all for attending. Quick show of hands, is anybody here for the first time at the State of the Castle? All right, we have Mr. and Mrs. Hoffman, welcome. And Dr. Shelkin as well. Welcome, Dr. Shelkin. I did see a hand raised there, although I think Dr. Shelkin might have been actually I know you've been in here. So. Gotcha. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed Miss Hip. Lori Hip as well. A round of applause for Miss Hip. All right, so to get started, we're actually going to invite Kathy Johnson, your resident council president, up to give an update on behalf of the council. Kathy, take it away.
Okay, this is, yeah, I do have to be behind here, don't I? I like to roam. Okay, a bunch of things. Number one, the big thing for the council is that, of course, we have a changeover. We had elections earlier this month, and I'd like for everyone to give a hand to our departing members, Augie, Gil, Church, and Don Herrick. I appreciate all the service that they gave while they were members of the council, and maybe some of them will run again in next year. We had over 40 residents vote. Next year, I hope we have at least double that voting. So I was glad to have that many people come, and please give a hand to the new members of the council, and that would be Pat Crump and Richard Knadler and Joe Schmidt. And we're looking forward very much to having them on. And yes, Helen.
Kathy, could you remove that milk bottle or whatever it is?
Oh. Hello. Okay. So that was number one. Number two, the garden committee is we are going to be working with KEI on that big space out there where there was this fabulous garden last summer, if you all remember how beautiful it was. So we are really interested in creating at least as beautiful a space in what's going to be done out there. So we are the garden committee is meeting with KEI, who is the landscaper group. We'll be meeting with them at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I will probably still be in my pajamas, but we are going to meet with them to talk about what we want in this garden. You know, what's there, what do we want to do, how do we keep as many plants as possible, you know, all of those things. So we're looking forward to that. Now, I also want to give this lady right here, Marion, a huge thanks for she and her committee, all of the work that they did for the extraordinary Earth Week. If we could please give a big hand to Marion. And also, you know, this is the big event for the environmental committee, but there's really stuff we want to be looking at all year in terms of how we all can be more aware in our daily lives of how to help East Castle be as earth-friendly as possible. We have to contribute to that. It's not just East Castle who has to have policies and practices, but we also need to work with East Castle on that. So, you know, always looking for people who are interested and can contribute to that effort. Just give Marion Fraley a call, okay? Community Wellness Committee, we've sort of lost our way a little bit, but we have a couple of new members, and I want to thank Rita Bacalars because she has put together a starting of a survey that we want to send out. We want to find out what you need in terms of information, particularly about health-related issues. You know, staying well, particularly. How do we stay as well as we can? And I think we have a new volunteer, right? I'm looking at the man in orange right there. Give me your name again.
David Hoffman.
Okay, Mr. Hoffman, he and I happened to talk the other day, and as a lifelong health...
You were in a great deal of sweat at the time.
Yes, I was, and I plan on being that way again in about a half an hour. So, but we're looking forward to, and I think Eileen Olin also has indicated an interest, so we are going to sort of turn the page, and Carolyn, of course, is still a force to be reckoned with in that group, and we will try and find out what we can do for you in a better way. Okay, on to a really boring topic, and that is the resident handbook. How many of you have a resident handbook? Okay, so you know you have one, most of you. That's good. When was the last time you actually looked in it? 2 months ago? Yes, Judy, well, you don't count. It is due to be redone this year, you know, in terms of looking at it and updating it. Tyler had given us, the council, a charge to do that this year. He wanted it done February 1st. And we sort of started, but then Earth Week got in the way and, you know, all these things. But I was thinking, and I just emailed out to the council members a digital copy of the handbook. They have looked at it already and made some suggestions for changes. But you know, a handbook is something you keep at hand. It's something that you keep nearby because it's useful, or it should be useful. But I think, need to know from you, especially from you folks that are newer residents here, what should be in that handbook that isn't there? How can we make it a more useful document for you? Something that you would actually consider keeping at hand and using it. You can just email me or anybody else you happen to know, or talk to any of us on the council. You know, I really think maybe this should be in there. So I would really appreciate you doing that. And lastly, phone lists. I hope all of you know that phone list, you can get a new copy, updated copy of it anytime at the desk. If you would like a digital copy, I like to have it on my computer. Just call and say, send me a copy, email me a copy, and then you can do with it online what you want to do with it. So make sure that you have updated information that way. Okay. Anything I need to know from you? Anything you think the council needs to take up, talk about?
I
Carolyn.
just have a question on the outside patio area. Is it true that all walls will go down and it'll be one flatter area that's graded?
Yes.
No steps? Okay, that's what I...
Yeah. So obviously that's a big change, because for the garden part, that was...
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a big change. So, yeah. But that gives us a lot more room out there to socialize and so forth. Yeah. It'll be a good thing, but we want to make it beautiful. Okay, well, thank you. And I bet you Lindsay is next.
There you go.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Happy spring, even though it doesn't feel like it out there today. Nice and chilly. So I have two updates today. The first one is about our medical director, Dr. Michael Johnstone. Dr. Johnstone will be retiring from his medical directorship on June 1st. So a very well-deserved retirement. He's going to go see his grandbabies in Boise, Idaho. So he's got to spend more time with them and not us. So understandable, absolutely. He will be phasing out from the health center first, and starting June 1st, we will have a new medical director. We've been interviewing area physicians that are associated with Aurora as well as Ascension and are independent in practice, but are able to go in and have rights to those area hospitals. And we've extended an offer to a physician and are awaiting acceptance at this time. So when we speak next month, or even prior to that in a memo, we will have further updates on that. So we will have a, if Dr. Johnstone would like to have one too, a little social for him. Just wishing him well and a great deal of thanks for his 4 years of service here at East Castle in his medical directorship. And he will, through the end of the year, still have his community practice. I know several of you go to his Glendale office. He will still be there seeing patients, as well as he will keep our assisted living and memory support neighborhood residents through the end of the year at least. So then on our COVID booster update clinic, how many of you are signed up for the clinic tomorrow? Yay, that is great news. So we will have the health department on site tomorrow from 1 to 3 p.m. On site, there will be several nurses that they will be bringing and then a supervisor. And then of course our East Castle management staff to assist you and our other residents in getting your first or second booster dose. So I received an update today that they will be offering both Moderna and Pfizer. They have a bit more Moderna than expected, and I know we talked about Pfizer as that's what they've had an influx of as of recent, but I know a majority, if not all of us, have received Moderna boosters, so I don't see that being an issue either way. And if you've done any research or additional reading, there is no contraindication if you had the Pfizer first 2 series getting the Moderna, or if you had the Moderna first 2 series getting the Pfizer, and so on. Mix and matching is a good thing. Any questions on that? If you are coming tomorrow, if you could bring your insurance card and your COVID vaccine card. The insurance card is just as a safety net. You probably will not need that, but just in case we need to re-register in the system, if you met with Teresa prior to, we got you fully registered in, and then the booster will be added to your COVID vaccine card. Yes?
Yes, I checked with the state, and the last boosters are not listed on the state records. And then, my husband got his at Walgreens and was listed right away. So that should be, the state should have a record of that.
Okay. Yes, on the WIR, the Wisconsin Immunization Registry, that is where you would find your immunization records from measles to flu shot to the pneumonia vaccine, COVID.
To do that, you or CVS?
If it was through our clinics here, it would be through CVS, as they were the ones entering in the WIR.
So how would I find out how to get it done?
I can talk to you separately, specifically, and if anyone else has that issue, I can reach out with a list of individuals in order to get that accurately entered. We also have access, Ashley Drummond, the director of nursing, does, because we give vaccines here to new admissions very often, and we are able to enter that info in. So if we have it on file, we can also enter that in. And then tomorrow, the health department will enter all of that in with your date of birth, your name, and so on. Any other questions? Yes?
My sister's in memory care. What time and when might they vaccinate there?
Great question. So we anticipate independent living will take between 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., 2:15, and then 2:15 to 3:15, they will be able to go up to memory care, up to the health center, and then over to Water Tower for those individuals who cannot get out of bed or cannot transport themselves down here.
Thank you.
Yes?
As a relatively new resident here, I don't remember ever seeing anything about any policy regarding vaccinations or even any strong suggestions that people be vaccinated. Can you clarify?
Sure. So our staff are required to get the COVID vaccine. And we are at, for the first and second dose of the vaccine series, are at 99%. And then at booster compliance, to get your first booster for our staff, we're at around 52% in staff receiving that.
No, residents.
Residents. So we,
Independent. but-
sure. From an independent standpoint, we don't necessarily have a policy. We've done education in a lot of the memos Tyler hands out or sends out each week. There is information about receiving that, area Walgreens, in order for residents to get their vaccine series and boosted. Luckily, we're at about, I'd say, goodness, 100% if
Yeah.
in
For at least the
independent
first and
living
second.
for the first and second dose of the COVID vaccine. Any other questions?
Did you happen to see the New York Times today reported that Medicare Advantage's plans deny needed care that should be covered to tens of thousands of people a year, federal investigators found? I can have you read it, I can't send it because you have to have a New York Times subscription, prescription.
Could you repeat what she said?
Sure. So there was an article in the New York Times today about Medicare Advantage plans. And can you repeat the second half, Dr. Bedford?
The medical advantage care, Medicare Advantage plans deny needed care that should be covered to tens of thousands of people a year, federal investigators found. And there's a big, long article here that tells, they said that people are told that it won't pay for it, and so they just don't even ask to have it looked at again. I know that if you, Medicare always says that if you don't get the care, you should apply for a redress or whatever.
Sure.
So it's a long article, and I don't know how to get it copied for people to read it.
So this New York Times article, we can see if we can get that from a community standpoint and have that printed and shared about Medicare Advantage plans denying care to tens of thousands of individuals, whether they received care or ended their care early. And so, you know, just based on my educated guess on that, Medicare Advantage plans, the supplemental insurance that you can get through United Healthcare, Humana, Aetna, they, if you need certain skilled level of care like our health center, or if you need a hospital level of care, they only authorize what they deem as medically necessary, and then they're really pushing for home-based care. So length of stays in these areas are much shorter, and it's upsetting a lot of individuals, and I think it's a good conversation to have, so we'll definitely share that piece because I'm curious to know what it says as well. So thank you for sharing that. Any other questions for me? No. All right. And next up is Eric.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I will take a moment just to jump into the resident comments right away, and then I will make time for a few updates. First, the comments that were submitted. I had a couple of holes in the window screens, but after the window washers were here, there are a few more screens that need to be replaced. And that can happen. Some of the screens get a little bit older. They have been washing them, so there's a possibility that some of the screens have ripped. If you're noticing that, we don't have any sort of means of asking them to turn that in as far as a follow-up for us. So if you do notice it in your screens, please submit a work order. We'll come out and we'll replace one or all the screens if necessary. Second resident comment here is on the North Bradford Avenue side of the building. The windowsills are black. Could be dirt under mold, should be looked at. I think a fair majority of that is actually dirt. You see a little bit on the patios as I was walking around this morning. Some of that will be dealt with all during the construction. Some of it will get washed. Some of it, if it is, needs to be repaired in the window sills. That'll be handled during the construction as well. As for the updates, I just want to take a moment to update you on the third floor painting. Fourth floor, as we know, is done in Contemporary. Third floor is where they're working on now. We're anticipating they'll be wrapped up by next Friday with the third floor, and the painting will be done there. But do anticipate there's going to be a bit of a break before we get to the second and the first floor. The painting contractor we have up there has to take a break for some other projects that were scheduled. This one ran a little bit long, so they will be back, but there's going to be a break between the third floor and the second floor. The other update is you'll be getting a memo, I would say probably next week or so, about an air conditioning startup. So this is something we're doing different this year. We'd like to make sure we mitigate any of the air conditioning downtime if possible, and for those folks that want to start up air conditioners early. So we're going to be doing this coming to your home to do a test of your air conditioner. So it's a little bit different in different buildings. Contemporary, we actually have to change your filter, and then we're going to go ahead and actually do a test up on the roof of your condenser to make sure that the refrigerant levels are good, that everything's pulling the right amount of amps, to make sure that it's going to work for the duration of the season is the real key point. In historic, you don't have a condenser on the roof, you have chilled water coil. So I need to make sure that those zone valves are operating, there's no leaking going on, and again, the filters get changed. So be prepared for that. We're just trying to get ahead of a few things this year. So we're going around, we've been over the past month, and we'll continue for another couple weeks, going through all the main corridor units, but we want to get into the resident units, so we'll be setting up a schedule via memo. Any questions? Yes, Ms. Crump.
Are they going to be doing the windows that don't open on the turrets in the Contemporary?
I wouldn't forget, you reminded me. I did take the window washer out there and I showed them exactly those windows. They're going to be coming over the roof. They're going to be coming down in a swing to take care of those windows. Mm-hmm. Yep. So I will make sure those are taken care of, because they're still on site doing some common area windows. I just don't think they've gotten to that yet, because the day that we were going to do it, I think we got rain last week. So, any other questions? All right, thank you. Next up is Mike Breeder. It's always nice to go before Mike than after Mike. He's a hard act to follow. So, thank you, Tyler, for setting the agenda.
It's Maureen.
Oh, thank you, Maureen.
Thank you, Eric. I just have a brief 45-minute report if you want to get settled in. I do have a couple things I'd like to bring you up to date on. First of all, those of you that participated in our Ukraine, whichever it is, collection, 30 people donated $5,632. So thank you to all of you that participated in that. It was a huge success. Before we can release checks to vendors, or in this case the church, we have to have a tax document from them called a W-9, which proves that they're a corporation and we don't have to withhold any taxes on their behalf. We just got that earlier this week. So our accounting department is preparing the check today. It should be in the hands of the church sometime early next week. Then it's on to Poland, and from there supplies go on to Ukraine. So thank you to all of you that participated in that, and thank you particularly to the Woodards. They did a wonderful job on this. Second, we have another collection that has been started, the Urban Ecology Center collection. There's a blue box at the front desk right now for people that would like to participate in that. For every $250 in funds that we collect, we can provide a summer scholarship to an income-eligible youth to participate in the urban ecology programming this summer. So we're hopeful of being able to send on a nice sum of money to that. People who would like to participate in that, checks or credit cards or debit cards are acceptable. The funds are actually given to East Castle Place, which makes them tax deductible. We're acting somewhat as a fiscal agent for the Urban Ecology Center. That makes the funds tax deductible, and anything that you choose to donate will be added onto your tax letter that you receive from me next January. Just as we did with the Ukraine collection, when we're done with the effort, we will send the funds on to the Urban Ecology Center once we receive their W-9. I was emailing back and forth with Marion Fraley earlier today. We believe May 30th, is that what you said? May 30th you have to participate in this effort. Again, checks made out to East Castle Place, or see me if you'd like to use a credit card, or you can use a credit card through our website. And if anybody would like the link to do that, it's always in the newsletters that I give you, or come and see me, I can email it to you. The next item up is the Brewers game, June 26th. You can sign up at the front desk, or you can see me. The cost for the Brewers game is $50 per ticket. Once again, that's check or credit card. You make that out to East Castle Place once again. We will have a catered tailgate lunch. It will include hamburgers, brats, all the fixins for those. Potato salad, chips, cookies. In terms of liquid refreshments, we will have Miller products. We'll have High Life and we will have Miller Lite. We'll also have Coke soft drinks, and we'll have bottled water. Our seats will all be in rows 5 through 11. As you stand at home plate and look out, it's the left field bleachers. That's where we are. I've had a couple of questions already that I'd like to share with all of you. Yes, there are backs on the seats in the bleachers. These are not just benches. There are backs, so if you'd like to relax a little bit, we have that opportunity. We will also be providing shuttle rides from East Castle Place to the ballpark, and we'll be bringing you back. Those of you that went with us 3 years ago, we have the same pavilion for our tailgate party, and our tickets are in the same location as they were then. It's an amazingly accessible event. The Brewers are very user-friendly, even for people in wheelchairs if they'd like to come along. You don't have to come down to seats or rows 5 through 11. There's seating for wheelchairs that are up at the top of that section. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. Again, the game is June 26th. The tailgate will start approximately 2 hours before game time. We have to give the Brewers an indication of our attendance on or about May 26th. So please, give it some thought and let me know over the next month. It is a bobblehead game as well. Corbin Burns, one of our fabulous pitchers for the Milwaukee Brewers, is the bobblehead that day. Everybody attending will receive one of the bobbleheads. Again, 1:10 first pitch. The tailgate starts approximately 2 hours earlier. We are in Picnic Pavilion 4. It is open to residents, staff, board members, family members, friends, and guests. So please, if you'd like to bring family along or friends, this is an opportunity for all of them to see East Castle Place hosting an event that I think is going to be really good. For those of you that are treasure chest volunteers, I have a couple of announcements for you. The May volunteer list, those of you that have volunteered for May, was distributed on your ledges today. Also, a list of volunteers with contact information was given to you today as well. If you didn't get one and you think you're scheduled for May, there is a list of scheduled hours down in the treasure chest right now. So if you go down during Monday or Friday hours, you can check the schedule, and if I missed your ledge, I sincerely apologize. The months of June, July, and August are available in the 3-ring binder at the front desk right now. If you'd like to sign up for any of those dates in June, July, or August, they are available, and please do so. The Employee Appreciation Fund. Many of you choose to give once at the end of the year, which is perfectly acceptable. But many people have chosen to give on a monthly basis as well. If you were on a monthly plan last year, if you did not sign a new contract for this year, you are not on the monthly plan. We have to have a signed contract for you to be able to do that. there are still 6 months left that we can charge you. So if you want to give the recommended amount, which is $10 a month, or $10 a week rather, you could give $520 in November or December if you choose to do it, or you could give $100 a month now. Whichever is easier for you. If you have any questions about that, come and see me. And last but not least, for those of you that are fans of Quick Trivia with Mike on Fridays and Sundays, people say it's the highest rated show on 955, but I know Coffee with Tyler is right up there as well. So I don't know what the Nielsen's are going to show this quarter. But my special guest host this week is Lindsay V. Goot, and we learn all kinds of new things about Lindsay. So tune in. I think you're going to have a great time. Are there any questions that people have for me? Yes?
Who do the Brewers play that day?
I see Jen is looking at her phone right now. I'm going to try to get a guess out to you early. I think it's the Pittsburgh Pirates. Is it?
Pretty sure.
Tyler's nodding his head, pretty sure. And when the executive director nods, whether he's right or not, I say, yes, that's it. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates. You can take that to the bank. Any other questions? By the way, for those of you that are planning to come, it is a weatherproof event. The Brewers have a roof.
It's the Toronto Blue Jays on Sunday, June 26th.
See, that schedule is wrong. It was intended to be Pittsburgh, but it's the Toronto Blue Jays. Someone at the Brewers office messed up. It's the Toronto Blue Jays. The pavilion that we have has a roof over it as well. So even if it's inclement weather, never fear. It is a weatherproof event. And there's a shuttle, actually, that takes you from the tailgate section right up to, I know it's not Miller Park anymore. It's American Family Field. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. I think, Tyler.
Yeah. All right, Mike, thank you for keeping a shade under 45 minutes for us. And just to clear up confusion, the Brewers are beating the Pittsburgh Pirates right now, 1-0, top of the 7th. Not that I didn't just check my phone while Mike was talking, because I was very engaged in his conversation. But thank you to Jen for correcting what the Brewers made mistakes on and making sure we knew that they were playing the Toronto Blue Jays when all of us at East Castle Place will be attending the game. All right, there's a couple of items that I'm going to address, and I'm actually going to start on behalf of Stacy Abbott, who unfortunately is at home today, but wishes she were here. So she had a couple questions that I'm going to address on her behalf. And one is pretty much communication, right? Communication between what's being posted in the elevators, what's posted on the weekly highlights, what's posted on the monthly calendars versus what's posted on Touchtown. There's a lot of different modes of media for communication that we want to try to get to you as residents of East Castle Place. Unfortunately, with some of the transitions and just with a lot of the different activities that go on here each and every day, there's things that don't align, and that adds to confusion. So Stacy and I, along with members from her department, know that this is imperative and know how important this is to your daily lives. And so we are working through and going through different proofs and things of that nature to enhance the accuracy of the information that you are receiving on a day-to-day basis or a week-by-week basis. Again, obviously, if we could all agree upon one mode of that communication, it would make everybody's lives a little bit easier. However, that's not the case. And so we're going to keep kind of going through the different avenues on how we get the weekly highlights out, how we get the highlights of Channel 955, as well as what the monthly calendars are saying. Again, I look at it as not, it's a simple solution because again, the complexity of the different activities and different ongoings that you have here at East Castle Place is a lot, and so with that, there requires a lot of communication. But we, on our end, on the administration end, can do a better job in making sure that that communication is more efficient in getting to your hands, as well as what is actually on the paper. So again, we do know that there's opportunities. I do know that it's not for lack of effort or lack of trying. I know I worked very closely in the department for about 2 months, and I made multiple mistakes that Stacy has since corrected. So again, I have confidence in the team that we'll get this turned around, and again, along with partnering with a number of you to make sure that we are accurate in getting the information to you. The other piece is, again, about the new exercise schedule and wellness promotion. This is on behalf of Stacy and Willie, and I know that Kathy mentioned that the wellness committee is going to be putting out a survey and things of that nature, and so we're looking very, very forward to that. But also, Willie wanted to let you know that you'll be receiving a handout of some new exercise classes and class schedule that we'll be implementing in May to enhance the wellness offerings here at East Castle Place ahead of the survey. And then obviously once we receive that survey, we'll implement the different forms of the exercises that you're looking for. So again, looking at some high impact and low impact type classes, as well as the yoga and some of the traditional classes we have already. But again, we know that wellness component is something so vital for you, and so we want to really enhance those offerings. So those were the 2 items on behalf of Stacy. Anything that you have questions on for the community life department? I know that they'll be very active, as they always are. All right, then the next update that I will provide is just a community. Yes, sorry, Ms. Holden.
Just a suggestion.
Sure.
For the group that's looking at all the modes of communication, I think it would be helpful to have some residents as part of that group.
Yes.
Because we're the ones that get all that information.
Yes, thank you.
Some works, some doesn't.
Yes, and thank you, and that is something that I did fail to mention, but yes, we definitely need to partner with residents. There is a communications committee on the resident council that I believe will be tapping into to really understand what is that best way of communicating. You know, again, trying to utilize Touchtown in some of the virtual components and technology. Again, I think that's an opportunity for us, but also what's being put down on paper. So thank you for that. Any other questions? Okay, so from the COVID community update, and I know you'll receive an update today, later today, regarding also where we're at with COVID, but also a construction update. And so again, the community COVID update, and I know I had the neurovirus update. The neurovirus has gone and passed and hopefully won't ever come back, right? So we haven't had neurovirus. I think it's been over 4 weeks now. Time is sometimes a blur, but it's come and gone, especially, and again, I don't know the exact time frame. However, we did have COVID cases, and I'm sure that many of you are aware of that. We had 4 residents on our 4th floor of Contemporary have COVID. Fortunately, again, each of them are vaccinated and boosted and potentially getting their 2nd booster. But they did go through their quarantine and isolation process, but you saw that we didn't necessarily shut the community down. Again, this was part of the conversations and having with my leadership team, as well as other organizations, senior living organizations in the area. But unfortunately, I think this is going to become somewhat, what I believe is the new norm of COVID being around. And so again, 4 residents that are positive for COVID is 1.5% of our total community population. And so if we were to hit a threshold of roughly 5%, that's when we would probably really start scaling activities back and potentially looking at shutting down the dining room. Those are some of the metrics that we'll be looking at. And again, we know, and I talked with a number of the residents, they don't know quite where they received it from. All I can say is that we don't currently have any employees that are COVID positive. And so again, that's where I know that it's community related. COVID is out there, COVID will be out there. And so I think that's just something that we as a community, again, I've talked to the director team. I didn't have any residents voice concerns about the process and the way of handling it. But again, if there is concern out there, please let me know. You know that you're able to continue wearing your masks and take the proper protocols that you feel comfortable with. And again, from a community standpoint, we know that your health and safety is very important, but a part of that health and safety is also your wellness. And I think that's a piece that many of you voiced to myself as well as a number of my staff members about being quarantined or isolated or things of that nature. And so we're carrying forward. So I guess with that, again, the COVID updates are going to continue. I do not mean to not be transparent with you. At the same time, you probably won't receive a memo immediately if there's a resident that's affected. You will if it, like many of you were contacted, if you came in close contact as part of our contact tracing. You'll have that direct communication, but from an overall community standpoint, you will receive that communication, but it will be more so on that weekly type of basis as part of the COVID update. So again, fortunately, the 4 residents that did have COVID are since recovering and are doing well. Many, I spoke with one this morning and he said it felt a lot like a cold. That's really all it felt like, and he's doing well. So again, I'm not trying to diminish COVID by any stretch of the imagination. At the same time, we've taken the safeguards, both as what Lindsay said for our staff members, as well as for you as residents. And so again, I still feel very comfortable and confident in the practices that we have here at East Castle Place. But if there's other thoughts, Ms. Hackle?
Sitting here in the back of the room, I saw a few heads go like this when you mentioned the norovirus isn't around. We heard there were several people. I can't identify.
So there is a GI bug. It is not neurovirus.
Okay,
so that is, thank you for that clarification. But there is a little bit of a GI bug, but it's not been classified as neurovirus. I'm looking at Lindsay because she keeps me honest from a health standpoint, her and her nursing team. So again, the neurovirus is a little bit different animal. There is a slight GI bug. I actually also know that personally. So again, so it's not as aggressive in that form. So that's where I mean the neurovirus, that neurovirus that we had that we shut down the dining room for about 2 weeks. Again, I believe that was close to 4 weeks ago, unless my time is way off. But there is a slight GI bug that's going around. It's hitting individuals a little bit differently, but it's not that, aggressive neurovirus one that we saw, earlier in March. So, yes, Ms. Fraley.
Yeah, I would just like to comment about COVID in particular, and what sounds like a sort of a new policy from what you had been announcing previously. There was quite a bit of confusion this weekend, including on my part. I didn't know whether I needed to cancel any of the Earth Day programs or not. And I can tell you attendance this year was very light, even up until just the last day or so, but especially so for the first few days. So I don't know what the answer to that is, but I think a lot of people would have appreciated knowing that it was just up to them, and it was, I don't know that you would say okay, but it was up to them, and that there was no expectation of doing anything.
Sure, and Marion brings up a good point. There was some confusion earlier on, I think, about, I think Thursday was the first case of COVID and where we're going and what direction from a community standpoint. And again, my apologies on that. We could have formalized probably a more formal communication on direction and policy and things of that nature. So I will, bear that and know that moving forward, that'll be a little bit clearer of expectation. So my apologies. Yes.
Can the rest of us on the fourth floor be tested?
So
Whether-
so the fourth floor contemporary, the rest of you, even if you, again, I know that there was a cocktail party. Again, I'm trying to think how we shouldn't need to, because we're outside of that window of contagiousness, so to speak. So if you're not exhibiting any symptoms, there is no reason to be tested.
And we did, I can add on to that, we did a very thorough contact tracing with these individuals who were positive, who were exposed, and so on. So if you received a call specifically about contact tracing, you would know who you are. You may have just gotten out of your quarantine window or quarantine recommendation. But there are tests available, I do know, at Walgreens, especially at-home tests that I recommend you do pick up, because COVID is still out there. You can get it at Walgreens or at Sendix or anywhere, no different than any other common spaces. But we unfortunately don't have the rapid test capacity here to just test an entire floor for, I don't want to say, a small reason necessarily, but something that doesn't meet the CDC standards of testing in a mass environment.
Thank you.
Did everybody catch that? I would love to repeat that, but that is a lot to repeat. So basically, our COVID protocols were still in place. We did our contact tracing. We tested those that needed to, and monitored, of course, throughout the last week. And again, that's where our protocols are, and again, that's based on our CDC and health departments. Any other questions? All right, then the construction and renovation update. So things are progressing quite well. As Kathy mentioned, we have our meeting with KEI regarding the interior courtyard. I'll be meeting with a few residents regarding, in the next probably 3 to 5 weeks, some artwork questions and things of that nature. But all in all, things are progressing. Things are progressing so well that I need to let you know that probably beginning the first to second week of June, our dining room will be coming offline. So that means it's exciting, meaning that CG Schmidt is moving along quite well. However, that also means that there's some decisions that we as a community need to make. And so I'm letting you know today that the Food and Beverage Committee, along with the Community Life Committee, is going to be meeting on, I believe it's Tuesday and Wednesday for sure for the Food and Beverage Committee. And then I'm not sure when the next Community Life meeting is. But the dining room will be shut down right now. Tentatively, it's going to start around June 6th. There's a little wiggle room. I'll know more definitive answers next week after talking with our contractor. But tentatively around June 6th, our dining room, along with our front desk, along with a temporary partition that will cut the hallway essentially in half. It'll still be accessible for stretchers and wheelchairs and things of that nature. Will begin. And so with that will be really the first time that you as residents really, although the Bradford Terrace construction has been going very well, actually demolition has been going well, it's the first time that you as residents will really start to feel kind of that impact. So the front desk will be temporarily moved, for about 3 to 4 months. And that's how long the dining room will also be down. Majarka, Tim, and Mary have already had internal discussions about ideas, but that's really where we need your input. We need your input on what we want the dining program to look like, as well as what do we want our activity programming to look like, because the room we're sitting in can only do so much. And so that's where, again, we need to make some decisions on what that looks like from a performance standpoint, what the want is for the dining program, and what the capacity for our kitchen is to do dining in this Lindsay Hall, because again, they can't go directly into the kitchen. They have to go around. And so again, there's definitely some ideas. We'll definitely be providing that at least one meal per day as the contractual obligation to you all. But it's going to look different. And again, that's going to be where, some of that construction headache, whatever you may want to say, is going to start. And so again, I think the end result, again, is what we need to keep focused on. But there will be a little bit of questions and comments from you that are going to impact what that looks like moving forward. At the same time, the interior courtyard also goes down. They'll be basically taking that half of the commons and renovating it. And so along with that, we'll be adding that ramp and doing the interior courtyard space. So this gazebo courtyard out here is going to be our main mode for outdoor activities this summer. And we have a few other ideas around the community for spaces and meeting spaces and programming and things of that nature. But ultimately, think about, if we're going to have dining here, each night, the staff need this room at 2 p.m. every day in order to set up and take care of it. So that's where, again, it would look a little different potentially, where you'd be sitting behind tables for different events and things of that nature. Again, it's all things I want your input on, and that's why we're talking about it now. I was made aware of the construction schedule on Tuesday, and that's when I was like, oh my goodness, we are really moving along here. So it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing because, again, the quicker we get through that part, then we get on to the next part, and then we can be done. So that's the whole goal. Maybe potentially in the next 8 months that this whole area will be complete. So I know 8 months seems like a long time, but it will go by quickly. I can assure you of that. As again, we're already a month through our first month of construction. So wanted to bring you up to date. So in utilizing the resident committees of the Food and Beverage Committee along with the CLS Committee, the Community Life Committee, but absolutely and happy to do, after those two committees meet, a separate meeting, again, similar to this, in open fashion for thoughts and opinions. Hand up, I know that not everybody's going to be happy with the choices that are being made. I know that, but at the same time, I want to make sure that we're meeting that majority, so to speak, if we can find that, is also what is reasonable. Because again, we know that you're still living here and we need to provide the care and services that you expect. So again, the ultimate goal is that dining room comes back online, and then we do the rest of Lindsay Hall and things of that nature. And again, much more of that communication will happen. But I did want to make you aware that some conversations will be had early next week. And just, as you have thoughts, please don't hesitate to share them with myself, the director team, so that we can start to formulate a plan for beginning in June. Questions? Yes, Judy.
Can you tell us what some of the ideas are that you're...
I can. I'm a little hesitant because it hasn't been run through any committees on a smaller scale, and so I don't know what the reactions will be. Yeah, I'll share. One idea is to do my wild idea is to do dining service every other week in the dining in Lindsay Hall. Meaning that 1 week we do dining, the other week would be more programming and things of that nature, and then the other week would be dining. No. See, that's the exact reason why I threw that one out there, because I really knew that was off the wall. Mijarka already told me that's not going to work, so that's why I put that one out there. We're not going to be doing that. So I just wanted to see reactions. See, this is why, we talk. And I also set myself up for some minor success. Fran.
Then the other complication is with the choir concert, which was going to be...
Yep, and the choir concert will happen. That is a definite. June 16th, we know, has to happen. And so if we need to change this room around And again, Majarka is writing notes for what that looks like from a dining perspective. We may be only doing delivery that night for June 16th, and then Lindsay Hall is available. Again, these are the ideas that we need to kind of think about and talk, because again, we know that there's certain, again, June 16th was one of those kind of dates circled that Lindsay Hall has to be available. We know that the choir's been working very hard with Gary and everybody else to make sure that we have that. We know how important that is to the community. So that's where, if all of a sudden we decide that, you know, June 10th, we're gonna set up all the tables and chairs and things of that nature, we would break those down, figure out dinner, which right now off the top of my head would be delivery for the night, you know, some type of maybe small buffet for the choir in the club room, something of that nature. And then go back to what our new normal dining program would be on Friday evening, so to speak. The other pieces, the church and the Catholic Mass on Saturday and Sunday, I want to make sure we have proper setup for them. So again, working through a couple things. Majarka and Tim and Mary already have chatted, so they'll be bringing ideas to the Food and Beverage Committee. But again, you know, we know that we want to be able to provide dining. We also know the accessibility of the kitchen is going to be impacted. So again, there will be choices to be made. Obviously, Lindsay Hall is slightly smaller than the dining room. And so again, that's where reservations, I imagine, will be needed. There may be an opportunity to continue to do the pick up and go. The continental breakfast obviously moves because the bistro is going to be part of that construction zone area. So again, right now, the idea would be the continental breakfast would be in the club room, which is a pretty easy switch, right, in that back counter area. But it does require some logistics for Majarka and her team. So that's all part of this.
So would the patio be available at that time or not?
The patio is part of the construction zone. So that's the difficulty. The only patio that, you know, Majarka, Tim, and I've had small conversations is utilizing the gazebo courtyard. I know it's not as accessible. Joe's pointing to the rooftop garden as well, which is beautiful and definitely needs to be utilized during these times. So again, we have outdoor spaces. We have spaces to continue programming. It's just not going to be probably as efficient. It's not going to be probably what you have come to know and truly love. But it will continue to be right after we get done with the construction, hopefully better than ever. But again, these are just part of the construction pieces that we'll all get through together. But want to make sure that you know you're a part of that. I'm not going to say you're 100% the driving force, because I do need to make sure my staff can you know, implement and make these things happen. And also there is a reason why I do have a job here. So I want to make sure that I'm still, you know, taking your feedback and then making sure we as much as possible take your feedback to implement. So, but again, that's why I'm bringing it to your attention now. I don't just want to spring something on you or say that this is the decision we're going with and you'll have to deal with it for 4 months, because you're going to have to deal with some things, you know, over the course of the next year, unfortunately, due to construction. So I know I didn't answer all or give you probably all the ideas that we have, but I also don't want to speak out of turn or put something out there that might be a really, really good idea, but we can't execute it to save ourselves. So
The piano in the fireplace.
yes, the piano in the fireplace room will be moved. And the reason for that is there's 3 other pianos that we still will have access to, both on the 3rd floor of the CBRF, over in the water tower lobby, and then the fireplace room. It's going to get a little tight in there, as it's going to be our new entrance, so to speak, and a walkway for our visitors and staff members and you. And also, it's kind of tough to answer the phone call with the piano that close. Although, if you know Michael, he does a beautiful, beautiful job at tickling the ivories, as they say. But we will have to move that piano and some of the furniture in there, just from a functionality standpoint. What other questions are there regarding construction? So just as so you're aware, the Bradford Terrace is fully under construction. Abatement is happening. They're about 1.5 floors done. That Bradford Terrace entrance may be shut down temporarily at some point in the course of the next 2 weeks. You will have at least 48-hour notice. I'm trying to make that overnight work so it really has no impact on you or our staff. The contractors are just working with our air quality people to see what is necessary. So again, more details to come, but the demolition is going well. Financing, we are closing May 5th. So a lot has been going on in the background. It's like closing on a house times a lot. So I'm sure you've all been through it, but that's progressing very well. And the Bradford Terrace, again, demolition, and then they'll be going to the construction of that. And again, that's where our assisted living folks will go. When that's completed, the anticipation of that being completed is roughly July, August, but then we have to get that space licensed. So the licensing agency has 60 days to license that space, and then we have to give ourselves time to move residents. So again, hoping for kind of an October, August, September, October timeframe for that space to be occupied, and then our healthcare to be in one building, which is pretty exciting. You will actually firsthand see kind of what the effect of the new looks like in about 4 months or so. So it's exciting. Again, everything is progressing along quite well. So, any other questions regarding construction? Otherwise, again, I'll be here right after words, probably outside, because I'm going to go into the recognition of the Earth Week celebration as we are wrapping up Earth Week today. And I just want to, again, I know Kathy gave a special thank you to Marion, but we actually have an Earth Day plant that we want to provide to Marion on behalf of all of her efforts, along with a card. Yes, and this is yours, okay, so I just don't want to tip it over.
Take it right now.
Okay. The other piece, again, just some highlights. Again, this Earth Week, I know, was a whole committee effort led by Marion here, but again, out of it, obviously you saw the displays in the hallways. We have the bag brigade is what I will call them. I don't know if that's the initial, that's the official title. All right. Again, the planting of the sunflowers, the number of presentations we have, along with the new butterfly garden that we'll be bringing on board. Just all in all, I think another very successful Earth Week that kicked off last week. It ends today, but as I think the slogan was, every day needs to be Earth Day, so that we can take care of the nature and beautiful Earth that we have. And so along with that, I think Marion's going to have a few closing words, as well as Scott and James are in the back. And as just a memento and a thank you and recognition of Earth Week, we have some reusable glasses that East Castle Place purchased for all of you in recognition of Earth Week that you can take with you, that James and Scott will pass out, so that you can have your water. I don't know if hot drinks can go in there, so Scott and James Scott's giving me the thumbs up. Your hot drinks, your cold drinks, everything can go in there and they can be reused instead of the styrofoam pieces that we're currently having to use. Also, tomorrow is Arbor Day, and so East Castle Place will be planting a tree out in the gazebo courtyard in recognition of Earth Day. So KEI is going to be coming at some point tomorrow to install that. So again, replanting and trying to, again, enhance the earth. So with that...
It's a beautiful eastern redbud.
Oh, thank you. It is a beautiful eastern redbud. It's something that KEI had recommended that will flower well. It will be beautiful along that beautiful Downer Avenue there, where the new gazebo renovations happened last year. So with that, I'm going to get out of the way, and I'm going to turn the microphone over to Marion to wrap up Earth Week. So Marion, take it away.